Hey everyone, welcome to the Super Review Show's Careers Retrospectives coming to you live once again. I am joined and always will be by my good two friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey, not much.
Yo,
Not much.
what's going on?
Living life to the fullest, as we see, right? It's all good. It's all good. But today, as the title of this video or stream suggests, we're going to be discussing and breaking down Megadeth's latest release from this year, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. Well, let's get right to it, I guess, shall we? Kyle, what are your initial impressions overall stuff going into a new Megadeth album that was just recently released? Kyle, let's start with you.
I really liked their last album, Dystopia. I thought that was really solid. The new band members at that time, same guitar player on this one, different drummer. Chris Adler's not with them anymore. I thought they really added to the Megadeth the pie there. They did great. I had high hopes going into this, especially after the lead single "We'll Be Back." And right off the bat, when I started listening to it, those hopes just crashed and burned. That's not to say that there's not great stuff on here, because there are small handful of songs I ended up really enjoying from this. But overall, I found it to just be really lackluster. Sounds the same throughout most of it. That's not to diminish the guitar work going on here. I mean, instrumentally, the album's great. I mean, some of these songs have some of the best guitar work that's ever been in a Megadeth song. Mustaine, excellent guitarist, one of the best metal guitarists out there. Vocalist, that's a whole different story. I think this album is really hindered by his vocals. Unfortunately, he's never been the best vocalist, but I think that the now aging Dave Mustaine plus, and I'm grateful for it, but his post-throat cancer battle, I'm sure that didn't help here. And lyrically, Megadeth's not the best lyrics in the first place. Lyrically, though, it's subpar to pretty bad in parts. That's where I'm at with it. It has some highlights that we'll talk about later, but mostly it felt like a lot to get through, and it's decently long.
Ooh, Mike, what do you got?
Well, I have a strange journey with Megadeth, and I'm kind of the old school fan and kind of followed them throughout that kind of period. I mean, I've seen them accidentally, which is insane, more than 5 or 6 times, because they headlined a lot of festivals with other bands that I wanted to see, and I just kind of happened to see them. I've happened to see Slayer. I've happened to see Anthrax by accident, never intentional, which, is like, a lot of people go, that's insane. And it's like, yeah, that's where I'm at with them. My sister used to play their music all the time for me as growing up as a kid, and forced me to listen to their music. And through that kind of, relationship with them, I've come to love a lot of their major kind of greatest hits kind of, songs. But then journeying off that beaten path onto some of the newer albums, I never really picked them up and listened to them. On occasion, I think I did listen to Super Collider. Was not the one of the albums that kind of, I forget.
It was like 2013,
yeah,
or so, give or take. No, people didn't like that one.
Yeah, I was kind of like where I was listening to some stuff, and I was a little the problem with Megadeth is they tend to they're I feel in a lot of ways they're trying to remain relevant in the thrash community by putting out these songs where they're just thrashing hardcore, like with the riffs. And in this album, I saw it happen multiple times where it's just the riff is just like, yeah, look how fast and thrashy this is, look how thrashy this is, and then you're like, okay, cool, but like, where are you gonna go from here? And they're like, what do you mean go from here? This is the thrashy riff I brought you. Isn't that good enough? Like, no, it's not. Like I want you to give me like Peace Cells, who's buying like a song that actually goes in directions and actually has a song written behind it. No. We brought you the thrashy riff. and Dave Mustaine like creepily kind of like singing. The rest is yours to fill in, and that's the problem. Is a lot of that fill in moments left me having an undesirable kind of experience with this, and I kind of and this is something I do a lot when I listen to albums is I think about what I want to hear. It's a dangerous game, my friends. When I think about what I want to hear when I'm listening to an album, that is bad because I'm almost hearing what I could have I could have been someone in the room going, no, do this instead because you've done this too long and you should go off on this direction, or this would sound better. If I'm doing that during an album, it's a clear sign that whatever process they were doing was kind of lacking in that kind of the idea of writing a song with a constantly kind of evolving equation. Just like what they brought was just, hey, let's play this riff, cool, nice, let's go back to this part, then let's play that riff again, and then let's go back to that part, and then we're done. Like, cool, like, congrats. But like that doesn't make a good album. It just makes thrash fans happy, and I personally have never been a pure thrash guy. I've always been a thrash mixture kind of guy. So yeah, it's just kind of how I was feeling and the general feeling of the album.
Yeah, for me personally, it was like, I mean, I'm not like the biggest. I mean, I do like Megadeth, and I haven't like delved into like their newer stuff. Like before we went live, I've mentioned to them that I've only listened to probably like their first 4 or 5 albums, like mainly from the 80s and early 90s and stuff like that, just to get like a feel and whatnot. Because I really dug Metallica's stuff, and I was like in an Anthrax and Slayer. Like, oh, let me just finish out the core 4 and go that way. Going into this, I mean, need I say more? I mean, they both nailed it on the head completely. I mean, this was like a lot of. Mike, I was actually doing what you were describing. Like, wait, oh yeah, did I forget to do the laundry today? Like, I was like the way exactly. Like, I literally thought to myself, wait, why am I being? You're right. Mike said something very key. The key to a good album in general is that it gets you hooked. It keeps you like in the loop and entertained. And this just didn't like really do that for me either. Truthfully, I mean, I was at this point I was a little distracted, like, oh, because the song was not filling me. But I will say that to go to Kyle's point though. Kyle did say that there are some good songs in here you could go back to. Yeah. For me, we'll get to the track listing in 1 second. But I mean, for me, like there was going into a brand new thrash metal album from Megadeth. I was like, all right, I'm curious. I'm excited. I can't wait, whatever. And it pretty much didn't really go anywhere for me, truthfully. I mean, it was like just the way it's kind of like it's just there. It didn't really hold any substantial weight for me, if you will. But I mean, I was really just like, okay. It's a new Megadeth album. All right, whatever. But those are our initial impressions. Let's jump over to the Wikipedia page, and we're going to talk about the track listing itself. And I will read off the track listing for us here. Full disclosure, Dave Mustaine, you are awesome, but this might we'll get into all that in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. Title track: The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, Life in Hell, Night Stalkers, featuring Ice-T, Dogs of Chernobyl. Is that how I said that right?
Yeah.
Chernobyl, yeah.
Yep.
Sacrifice, Junkie, Psychopathy, Killing Time, Soldier On, Celebuantan. I'm gonna butcher it. Someone wants to say that. Celebuantan. Thank you. Mission to Mars, Will Be Back. And the deluxe edition had a couple tracks on a police truck, which is a Dead Kennedys cover. This planet's burning. This planet's on fire, burning hell. But a Sammy Hagar cover featuring Sammy Hagar on this album. Let's start with Mike for a change. We're gonna get Kyle's impressions. Kyle's favorite tracks. I know, right? We're switching up just a little bit tonight. There we go. Oh no, what have I just done? Mike. What have I done? I broke the system. No, Mike, yes. What are some of your track listing? Any standouts at all? Does Ice-T did Ice-T do it for you at all?
Oh yeah, Ice-T, he iced the track, man. Honestly, as soon as he comes in with his spoken word, creepy kind of like breakdown of military command, like he's giving us the play by play on how they're gonna run the frontal assault. I was just I almost fell out of my chair, and I went to go buy the limited edition album. So yeah, no, I actually thought it was very awkward and kind of just didn't fit with the song. I tend to not like rap parts in metal songs, but if it's done right and it feels like it transitions well, and it just it's supported by the music itself, then I'm all game. But this was just it just did nothing for the track. And to side note, I personally love Kiko Loureiro. Kiko Loureiro is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. Angra, the band he is most notable, in his career, is one of my favorite bands of all time. I have followed him from a very beginning of heavy metal, and I'm just thrilled to see him doing so well on an album like this. But I just have a bad feeling that Dave Mustaine has a gun to his head the whole album, like play what I want, and I'm like I'm sorry, Dave, please don't hurt me. Like, yeah, it really feels like Kiko doesn't get to really bring anything that I feel like he's a masterful guitarist. The solos in this album are crazy. Everything's played with a kind of meticulous, just pinpoint accuracy, and it's lightning fast, and it's everything you want for the guitar work, but it just never gets to explore the true kind of depths of what it needs what it needs to do in a song. So first three tracks, they're pretty forgettable. Nothing really, it's pretty much just rinse, wash, repeat, or wash, rinse, repeat, however you want to put it. The first song that really stands out for me is Dogs of Chernobyl. It's one of the few songs that I actually could hear a chorus that actually stuck in my head. And then it's too long, though. That's the problem with the damn song, is it's like, hey, here's a cool song that's got a cool little chorus, and it does a couple nice things, and it has a kind of a gloom and doom feel to it. I like that. And then you're like, cool, I like this. And then it just goes off on a lot of things where it's like, kind of spoken word parts over top of some music and some creepiness to it. And I love it, but it was just a little too long. It's actually the longest song on the album. And for a little while there, I thought to myself, man, is this song still going? Like, and they came back to this part after all this time, like just a head shaker to why that they chose to kind of do that. But it actually, yeah, it's one of my, first song that I could actually was memorable. Following that, Sacrifice and Junkie, not a huge fan of those. Repetitive. That's the problem with this album. Repetitive, man. Just repeat those riffs over and over and over again, and they're not riffs that can be repeated because they don't really have a lot of complexity in them. It's just like quick short bursts of of just a riff that just kind of beats itself to death, and and it kind of continues that. And I think Soldier On actually had a lot of potential in my eyes. It actually did some cool. The chorus was actually very memorable. The cool shredding in the background was very memorable. It had a lot of memorable things to it, but once again, it kind of still suffers from a lack of ability to just take off due to Dave's vocals not doing anything for it. A lot of things kind of come to play there, but it actually was another high note for me. And then Celebutan is my number one song on the album. It's got that opening riff that has that cool kind of 80s feel to it. Then it's got that massive thrash breakdown in it that is, I was literally just like, where the hell is the rest of this album happening? Like with Celebutan, it needed the same kind of feel to it. That was one of the songs I was actually really happy about. And then Mission to Mars, another song that I just didn't expect that I was actually gonna like, because it kind of just seemed real weird with the whole, everything's about war and death and sickness, and then all of a sudden it's like Mission to Mars. Like, what? Is Dave high? Mega Dave is don't ever doubt him. He will. I mean, like you said he was awesome at the beginning of the stream, JT. So I feel like that was like you were like giving like a praise to him, so he doesn't come and kill you in your sleep. But yeah, just
Oh God.
I appreciate that because I don't want. I hope I'm covered under your cry for Mega Dave to spare you. But yeah, like that Mission to Mars was another song that I actually enjoyed. Nothing stellar, but more so enjoyed. And then We'll Be Back. I thought I would have liked that song. It was started off pretty good, and then it kind of takes some twists and turns, but it really uh kind of just nestled down in a better than the first songs, but not better than some of the Celebiton, Mission to Mars, and Dogs of Chernobyl kind of nestled in right underneath, but not as low as some of those other songs. And then to be honest with you, you could have stopped the album there and left Police Truck and Planets on Fire completely off, and it would have actually been a good, move, not adding those bonus tracks in. And unfortunately, I had to be submitted to the terrible, terrible songs, 13, 14. So yeah, I mean it's just kind of one of those albums it's easily forgettable, except a couple, like Kyle was saying, there's 2 or 3 songs on here that hold any candle, to the darkness that is the rest of this album. So yeah.
Oh man, Kyle, can you follow that up?
I think I can. So
Oh no.
normally I start by going through the songs that I like. I'm going to start the opposite this time. Killing Time. I'm surprised Mike didn't bring this up. Killing Time might be the worst Megadeth song I've ever heard. Maybe potentially one of the worst thrash metal songs I've ever heard. I don't know if this is their attempt at doing a pop styled song, because it very much has that, like, we're going to write a catchy chorus here. Dave does not have the voice for that. It doesn't work at all. And the lyrics are so bad, particularly the line when he says, "Stop saying you're grateful, your kind is so hateful." I'm like, did you give this to like a bullied middle school kid to write those lyrics? You're killing my time. It was awful. I hate that song. Got one of the lowest scores I could possibly give it. Now, also, Junkie. I thought Junkie was awful. I don't know what he was going for there. It doesn't fit the album sound-wise. The way he says Junkie annoys the hell out of me. And there's just no subtlety in the lyrics at all there. It is just the most in your face, like, oh, you're a junkie, you do drugs, this is you're ruining your life, blah blah blah, over and over for the entirety of the song. Sacrifice. I hate lyrics about wizards and warlocks and things like that. Also doesn't fit the theme of the album, like Mike, you're saying with Mission to Mars. Like, it's every other song is like war and sickness and death, and it's like, oh, sacrifice to the wizards and warlocks and sorcery. I'm like, what? So those are my big problems here. Those are the 3 other ones. Most disappointing thing on the album for me was Night Stalkers. I'm a big fan of Body Count. I think Ice-T does a fantastic job with Body Count, specifically their last like 3 albums. Their later work is really good. And his previous collaborations with Dave Mustaine, specifically on not the last Body Count album, the one before that, on the song Civil War, were great. So I was really excited to see them collaborating again. But Mike, you're right. It just feels like Ice-T is just thrown into the middle there to just rattle off some random stuff about the formation coming and the attack. It doesn't work for me. And that song goes on way too long. Having said that, also This Planet's on Fire, Burn in Hell. I don't understand the point of covering someone's song, but then just having them featured on it. At that point, I might as well just go listen to the Sammy Hagar version. I also don't think their voices work well together, so that's really killed it for me. Now I'll get to the ones I did like. I think that the end of this album was actually really solid. If the album started with these songs, it might have been more enjoyable to get through, or if they were more interspersed throughout. But I agree with Mike. The first song that caught my attention was Dogs of Chernobyl because it tells a vivid story with the lyrics. It is the first distinguishable, like memorable chorus of the album. And then I do agree it does. I couldn't give it a perfect 10 in my mind because it does go on a little bit too long. It's very long-winded. It also has another one of the worst lyrics on the album. I'm retching till I overwhelm the bowl. I heard that and had to rewind it to make sure that that was correct. And it was. So past that, the album just goes on a downward spiral until it hits Soldier On. And then Soldier On, I like the galloping beat that it has going on. It has some good transitions in it. It's not my favorite. It had potential, though. I agree with you, Mike. But every minute of it, I just said, why am I going to listen to this? I can just go listen to Disposable Heroes by Metallica. It's just discount Disposable Heroes. That's all it is. Then Celebutant, I do enjoy that one very much. It definitely has like the most old school thrash sound you're getting from this album. Not my favorite, still very good. But Mission to Mars, I actually gave that one a 10. I love that song. It sounds like classic Megadeth. Reminded me of a song like Hangar 18 or something like that. The lyrics are pretty bad, don't get me wrong. But it does tell a story. I think it does have the best chorus on the album, like by far. And then We'll Be Back. I actually really like that one. That's initially what got me hyped for this album. And I wish more of it was like that. It's not a perfect song, but it has excellent guitar work. Like you said, Mike, Kiko is a fantastic guitar player. Him and Mustaine make fantastic duo. It is exactly what you want. It played perfectly, note for note. But like you said, it is very much just, here's a bunch of thrash songs. I'm not going to go anywhere with it, but this is what you want, right? You want a bunch of just thrash riff after thrash riff over and over, rinse and repeat throughout the album. And this might be an unpopular opinion. I really like the cover of Police Truck, but that's just me being a punk fan, Dead Kennedys fan. I thought they did well with it. That's where I'm at. Those are my top songs were from Celebutant to Police Truck plus Dogs at Chernobyl. Everything else is pretty much like throwaway to borderline bad.
And just to add, I really wish I could have been a fly in the wall or a fly in the brain, I should say, a worm in the brain, to like figure out what riffs Kiko wrote and what riffs like Mustaine was more responsible for, and then like which like I want to hear all of the ideas Kiko had that Mustaine was like, no. You know what I mean? I kind of want to hear the I want to see what's on the cutting room floor and be like, these are all the turn down riffs and things that he wasn't a fan of, because I know he's got the main, just keys to the kingdom here, and he's just gonna be the one to really like allow the music to go where he wants it to go. And I just would just like to see what things Kiko was like directly influenced with that, because I know they credit him for most of the stuff there,
on
but
most of it, yeah.
I just don't.
Way more than he was credited on Dystopia.
Yeah,
I think he only had like 3 writing credits. This is almost every song on the album here.
And if it was his idea without any kind of influence from Dave, that's a little concerning, because like Kiko's so much better. Like he's so much better than that. And I just wonder how not even a shred of light from his previous work could shine through to this for most of the songs, except the ones that we noted that had some cool things going on. A lot of them had cool things going on. They just never got. It was almost like they couldn't
They never
become what they
realized
needed
it.
to.
Like,
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of them had potential. Like they started, and from the beginning, I was nodding my head like, okay, okay. And then like 2 minutes in of a 4-minute plus song, some of them 6 minutes, I'm just like, oh, okay, I get it. It's a thrash riff, and Dave's putting his vocals and lyrics about whatever on it, and it's just not going anywhere.
Right.
I have just this blank stare on my face after everything that we've just talked about. No, I mean, what more? Literally, what more could you say that has not already been said? It's like, just like literally, like it's amazing how all three of us are pretty much on the same page. You're like literally, nearly note for note. It's actually frightening, but I agree with you both. This album was like it starts. The first single was "We'll Be Back," right? That's the first single.
Yeah.
For the album, right? I want to make sure. Okay, cool. Because I was like, all right, cool. But the thing is, it's not even like that. It's front loaded. It's like the last 2 or 3 songs are just like the better ones. I'm not sure if it was Mike or Kyle who said this, but like one of you guys said if those songs were like peppered through, it would have been like a roller coaster album. Like, oh, this song's down. This one sucks. This is great. Sucks. Great. You know what I mean? But I mean, just like what was what was I listening to? I mean, as someone who's not familiar with like modern Megadeth stuff in general, I was like, and everything from like the Ice-T collaboration to some of the songs being over 5 minutes, like Dogs of Chernobyl and Night Stalkers were over like 6 minutes each. I was like, all right, a song is a song. If you have a song that's over 5 minutes or whatever, it can be good. Just give it like create something that's not going to be like just a thrash metal riff here and there, and then that's that. I mean, this was just like what. Also, I just want to Psychopathy being 1 minute and 20 seconds almost did nothing for me. It's just like it's just there kind of thing. Same with Junkie was like it. This is just a roll for me personally. This is like a roller coaster album. Like okay, like at first it was like really low, then at first it was really low, and then it went up high. It started to go high up a little bit towards the end of the album, and then we got the 2 covers towards the end. So, my standout tracks are easily, I would say, "We'll Be Back," of course. "Mission to Mars." I mean, it was actually pretty darn good, like we said. But the rest of it is just like, and you know what? I'm gonna just Kyle and Mike know that I'm a title track guy. This is a title track I could not go back to. Like, for lack of a better word, I could not. Me being the title track king, American Idiot, Toys in the Attic, you name it. I'm like, no, not the sick, the dying, and the dead.
Your reign has ended.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, this is the first title. This might be the first title track I've ever heard that I just could not like hook into or get into. I'm like, what? It was weird for me. It was having like a weird aneurysm or something. Like, what's going on here? You know, it's like
it was another one of those songs that had good ideas.
Yeah.
And then just didn't execute. Like, I really thought the dynamics between the initial like fast riffs and then that acoustic part in the middle was really well done, but then it just went back to being boring.
That might be the key word here that we're all going to say is this is primarily just boring. I mean, this is just a lot of, if this is an EP of just 3 songs, and then I'm gonna get Hagar in a second, but like if this is just like an EP of like 3 or 4 songs, cool, that's not too bad. But the fact that it's a whole hour, almost an hour long album, if you include the police truck cover and Planets on Fire with Sammy Hagar. I'm about to say Hammy's Hagar. Sammy Hagar. Sorry. I'm speaking. Breathe, JT. It's okay. But like
Mega Dave is melting your brain.
Mega Dave is secret like JT. Hey man, we know that you did not like this album. How dare you? Yeah. But I mean, and also to Kyle, I think it was Kyle's point, to have a Sammy Hagar cover featuring Sammy. Have we ever had that in just music in general, where it's like a cover of a song by that artist featuring that artist? Have we ever had that yet? Seriously.
I have seen it before. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it was. I have seen it. I'm not a big fan of when artists do that, because at that point, why? I'll just go and listen to the actual song.
Yeah,
like, I don't understand that either. It's like imagine like Blink-182 releases a song and then it's featuring Blink-182. Like what? Or it's so weird.
It makes more sense when an artist like re-records one of their old songs with like a guest feature on it. That makes a little more sense than being featured on a cover of your own song.
And kind of go back to what you were saying about the long songs. The danger of a long song is you begin to wear out your welcome with a lot of things that you're doing. So it requires a person who has like great songwriting to kind of to transition into something that flows well and blends well, and then somehow tie in some of the original beginnings of the song into where you were going. And that's the problem with a song that goes on that long, is when you can't do that well, you kind of just take something that isn't great, drag it on for too long, go into another part, right? And then you're like, okay, where are they going? And then you come back to the part that wasn't that great again and drag that on for a while, and then kind of like it's like not knowing when to just say enough is enough. And you make yourself look stupid because you have to come up with new things to keep the song going, but you're still using the same stuff that just never really was great to begin with. So it's definitely lacks vision from songwriting. So but yeah, I just wanted to like note that, like when you were talking about that, I thought that was interesting. It's just like those are dangerous places to be, a 6-7 minute song. You got to really have some crazy writing skills for songs writing to be able to pull that off, rather than like for example, like Soleil Buton, like it transitioned so well into the parts it did. It starts off with that beginning riff, and it's got some memorable lyrics, and then it has that breakdown in it, and then it does something different after that, and then it comes back to the beginning, and then it's done. And it has like that breakdown kind of playing down alongside some vocals. It like did everything you wanted it to do, and it didn't go too long. If it had gone on longer, and it would have lost score.
I think that's a problem that even going all the way back to the 80s and beginnings of thrash, I think it's a problem that a lot of thrash suffers from, is people not knowing when to just call it on a song. Like not every song has to be a 6 to 8 minute piece. You can have a shorter song. And I think Metallica really showed that back when, even them, it took until the Black Album to be like, yeah, we don't need every song to be an 8-minute track. And don't get me wrong, old stuff, Metallica, Megadeth, all of them, it was all great. But if you don't know where you're going with the song, there's no point in just making it a long song just to have a long thrash song.
Right? Exactly. So I mean, but as far as my standout tracks go, I mean, just going back to just to the recap and finish that part off. Like I said, We'll Be Back, great. Mission to Mars is great, but outside of those, and Dogs of Chernobyl, I thought was pretty good for the most part. But outside of those three, that's and not even the same Hangar cover. I mean, the Police Truck of Dead Kennedys. I mean, Dead Kennedys are great. Don't get me wrong, but just having a cover of them, I thought was it was cool for what it was. It just it's not one of the they didn't write it though, of course. But those are my standout tracks for me personally. Any other comments for tracks at all before we go on to our ratings and stuff like that, or no?
Just that I find it pretty funny that one of my least favorite songs, Junkie, is one of the only 2 songs credited to Mustaine alone.
Yeah. Loretta was there. He just left the room. He's like, "Yeah, I gotta go. It's all you do."
I have to go do my hair.
Yeah, do my hair.
It's like you're on your own.
Had to go count my money.
I gotta go count my millions of dollars.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't watch this, because I love. Kiko, please, I love you.
I mean, we are big fans.
Join Anger again and reunite with them and bring balance to the power metal force. I understand. God. Dave's throwing money at you. He's just like, "Here, do this. You're literally the best guitarist like I could find, like who will just be able to pull off what I want you to do."
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I mean, I just want to point this out to you guys before we give our ratings and stuff like that. But it says here that it took 2 years to materialize, May of 2019 to May of 2021 ish. That can we just and it's funny when we talked about Geordie, it took the same amount of time to do less songs for them. Like it's like the same amount of time, but like that album was trash. This album at least has a couple good songs, whereas like that one was like, go back and listen to that. That was ridiculous. But I mean, the fact that it took so long to materialize the songs,
I mean, at least they have the excuse of they had the lineup changes and COVID as an excuse, I guess.
Bassist too from Testament that filled in for him. I'm glad he took over for that freaking piece of work. David Ellison.
Yeah, and then I think Mustaine's throat cancer battle was either right before this or during this. So great for him. Glad he was able to beat it and still doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, props to him for even like going through the album in general and just making it with throat cancer surgery and stuff like that, right?
I would assume so. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds about right, but let's start with Kyle this time. And Mike went first last time during the stream, but let's start with Kyle. Kyle, what is your overall rating? I know it's clearly a 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, can't go that high. All things considered, the album does have a lot of mediocre to straight up bad moments on it, but there is, a handful specifically toward the end and the one in the beginning of songs I think are actually really great, and it has really great moments and good potential. The bonus tracks don't add anything to the score one way or the other. They're just kind of there. Overall, I think I gotta give the album a 3, just straight flat 3 out of 5. It has the potential. The guitar work really brings up a lot of the songs that could have, without that, been scored way lower. But they at least keep it interesting with that. Even the most boring songs on here, they'll at least have a guitar solo that perks up your ears. I wish that we got some better choruses, and again, Mustaine's voice on a lot of the songs just really drove it down. Overall, though, towards the end, it really picks it up and saves the album from being, unmemorable. I definitely wouldn't put it up there with Megadeth's best work. I don't think many people would. I personally like Dystopia more. I also wouldn't consider this in their low tier work. It's just kind of middle of the road. It's nowhere near as bad as an album like Risk or Super Collider. It's not the best either, but it's about middle of the road Megadeth for me. 3 out of 5.
Mike, this is your favorite one, right?
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, like I said, it had those good songs, but it was just where it failed. It just really failed. And I can sometimes, like, I was actually just listening to some music on the way home from work, and I thought, I can hear a really bad song that just never goes anywhere. It doesn't do anything, and it's lame, and it's from a band I don't care about. But when you put the name Megadeth, and that's a problem with a lot of these reviews from me, is when you have a name supporting an album, it suffers more so than a band I have no attachment to, no expectations from, and that really was what hurts the rating. It's like if Megadeth kind of Dave did his own thing, and this was called, just like Dave's
Super Death.
Yeah, Super Death, yeah. Dave's Super Death Destruction, and this was his side project, I would be like, okay, like, this is interesting, but I wonder where it's going to go. But like, honestly, with the Megadeth name, it hurts the rating. So it's 2.5 out of 5 for me. It's just dead metal, center of the road 5 out of 10. If we're doing that, kind of just, yeah. Expected a lot more. When you have Kiko Loreo on board and you have all these kinds of history of understanding songs and how they should go. I feel like we were saying before, it might have been hurt by the cancer, lack of being able to kind of focus on the album. It might have been hurt from, like COVID coming in and kind of disrupting things. And I feel like his lyrics and his theme were more important than the music itself. Like, I'm talking about sick, I'm dying and dead, and all of the horrible things, and and this kinds of like themes he's getting across, but then the music itself suffers from like a lack of the direction that the focus is. And so Yeah, 2.5 out of 5, unfortunately. Underneath the Megadeth name. Underneath another name, I would have probably met Kyle at a 3. Definitely would have said, okay, this is an interesting album from a band I have no expectations from. I could sit at a 3. I could even sit at a 3.5, depending, but like my expectations were just too high for a band like this kind of history and how much they know about music.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm with you there, Mike. Whenever I rate an album, I really try my best to go in objectively and like take the name off of it, which is where I got the 3 out of 5. I do agree with your score pretty much completely. If I'm looking at it as a Megadeth album, it's right middle of the road at a 2.5. But as just an album work of art, if I take any artist name off of it, definitely 3 out of 5.
All right. And for me personally, I mean, going into, like I said, preface my rating by saying this, not really outside of knowing their early 90s and 80s material, going into this one was like, all right, cool. It's a Megadeth album, but slapping the name on this, as Mike said, was like, what? I agree with both of them completely. If you were to just take this as a generic band and that like there was just up and coming or whatever, and said, oh, this is their latest release, you can give it some leeway there and there, but I mean, but it's to put the name Megadeth on this, it was like, what? Like there were so many questions, a lot of cheesiness, a lot of like lyrics and stuff, a lot of things we did not like here. I'm actually gonna go in the middle of both. I'm gonna say 2.75 out of 5.
I want to not be the villain for once in this thing in this stream, JT. Well, you could have gone 2.4. You freaking.
I'm pretty much with you. I'm pretty much with you though, Mike. It's a middle of the road album. It's just if I'm looking at it objectively, taking Megadeth off it, speaking strictly off the music without their prior back history, it's a 3. But I definitely agree with you. It's a disappointment for a Megadeth album. It's not what I was looking for. So we're both kind of the bad guy here.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just because Mike is pleading with me to be the bad guy. We're gonna do 2.3 out of 5.
Yes.
So
yes. In your face. I love this album. You guys suck. All right. I'm changing I'm 10 out of 10. All right. 10 out of 10.
It's like an 11 out of 10 right there, right, Mike? Exactly.
11 out of 10. Absolutely.
It's like just a 6 out of 5, man. What are you gonna do? You know.
Shout out to Anthony Fantano. He gave it a light or a hard 3 to a light 4 out of 10. Which is even harsher than I was being, and he had some valid critiques at the album, but I was just shout out to Anthony. Maybe he can boost us onto his shoulders, bring us into his community reviewing. So yeah, if anyone's commenters, anyone's like mention us. Let us know.
Awesome. Well. But there's our ratings for the night. Obviously, this is a very, very mixed, very middle of the road album for all of us here. Completely
a mixed bag, if you will.
Plug for our other show, Mixed Bag, live on Wednesday nights. I'll just check that out. So someone had to say that at some point. But thank you, of course, for tuning in, listening, and watching. However you enjoyed this stream. And you could follow simply on Instagram, Twitter, and like us on Facebook, simply at the Super Review Show. I want to thank the 2 gentlemen who have been doing this every week now for a long time. We got plenty more stuff coming up. And I want to thank Kyle first. Thank you so much, Kyle, for doing this initially with Green Day's 20th Century Breakdown, of course, and Mike, of course, is just bringing the humor, of course, as always. Thank you, Mike. Seriously.
Absolutely. You're very welcome, sir. I love it.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you all for listening and watching. However you enjoyed us, and tune in next week for another episode of Career Retrospective. So we'll see you guys later. So stay safe and take care.